Hey everybody, what's going on? So today we're going to talk about iPads, and I've actually been using these for a very long time. The iPad Pro as well as the iPad Air. These are the latest editions, and the Pro I've been using for almost a year, and the Air since it came out. And I want to do more of a long-term review to sort of help you guys make that decision which iPad is right for you based on long-term usage. Because sometimes when you just test it for a few days or a week, it's not the same as using it day in and day out for months at a time. So here are my thoughts on the iPad Pro versus the iPad Air. Which one is right for you? All right, so before we get into this, I do want to let you know we're not paid or sponsored by anyone. These are my thoughts and my thoughts only. So let's talk about the iPad Pro first. This is the 12.9 variant here, and this has been my workhorse. This is what I do a lot of the work that you see on this channel in terms of my photography reviews. I edit, I'd say about 80 to 90% of my photos on this iPad Pro. I use Lightroom, CC, I use Affinity Photo. I'll even use the inbuilt camera app, or I'll even use VSCO for this. And that's how I edit my photos a lot of the times. And even for videos, a lot of my videos that I put on my personal Instagram page are edited on this. Even some videos that you've seen here on this channel have been edited on this iPad Pro. Here's a little confession to make. I actually learned how to edit on an iPad Pro versus the laptop. Now I'm into Final Cut Pro on the 13-inch MacBook Pro M1 chip to test it out. But I learned editing on LumaFusion on this iPad Pro. So this has been my workhorse. Is it a laptop replacement? The answer is yes, it is. This is a very powerful device here. As a matter of fact, before the M1 chip MacBook Pro out there, I would have said, get this over the MacBook Pro unless you need it for certain applications. But for day-to-day operations and for a lot of the things I do, I don't need to touch a laptop. This does the job. So that's the iPad Pro in a nutshell. I love this device. I have nothing bad to say about it. It is very expensive, but again, you're getting this beautiful display, touchscreen. You get the Apple Pencil. You've got a fast USB-C port on this, so I can use one of my Samsung T7 Touch drive to this if I want to use it as an external drive. Unfortunately, it's not Thunderbolt 3, so my Samsung X5 drive, that has to go to the MacBook Pro. But maybe in the next generation of the iPad Pro, they'll put Thunderbolt 3, then I can take advantage of this. But this is a phenomenal device, and especially now with the latest iPad update, you got file management, the Magic Keyboard. Guys, there's nothing bad about this tablet at all. And if you are a content creator that you really push your devices to their limit, you're a gamer that you want that 120 hertz or refresh rate on the ProMotion display on this, you really want to push your tablet to the max, you want to go for the Pro no matter what. Even after a year, this is still more powerful than the Air in some ways. But now, let's talk about the Air. The iPad Air, when it came out a few months ago, really, some people were saying it is an iPad Pro killer. And in some ways, it's really there equal to the iPad Pro. In some ways, it even surpasses it. The A14 Bionic chip on single-core processing is faster than 12Z Bionic chip. But when it comes to multi-core, the iPad Pro will take it. Graphics, this is slightly faster. The A14 is the same chip we're using in our iPhone 12s out there. And if we've used that, and if you've used that out there, you know how fast that chipset is. It's just like this in the iPad. This handles 4K video editing, no problem at all. It handles photo editing, no issues at all. This is a great device to take with you. And for a lot of people out there, this would be the iPad for you. For me personally, it's a 10.9-inch display. It's a beautiful display, but I like a larger display. The 12.9 inch is a sweet spot for the iPad. I could even do a 14 or 16 inch to be frank with you, but that's just me. I may be the anomaly, but for a lot of you out there who are just gonna take this for media consumption, some content creation, taking notes in classrooms, maybe jotting down some notes with the Apple Pencil, you're going to really like this. A lot of the design features that are from the iPad Pro are now in the iPad Air. You've got that bezel, not say bezel-less, but you don't have those large bezels on the side like you have on the old iPads. You have Touch ID, which is on the side of the iPad here, which is nice. No fingerprint sensor on this, but the Touch ID is great, especially when we have to wear masks when we're outside. We don't have to wear masks here, by the way, because we're filming, and I got a distance away from Kai Hong, but usually I have to wear a mask, just in case you're wondering. But besides that, it just does everything I needed to do, and I can do about 90% of what I can do on the iPad Pro on this. But there are some differences for me as a more professional user, that's where the iPad Pro comes in handy. I like that 120 hertz refresh rate. It helps when I'm using the Apple Pencil, when I'm using masking in Lightroom, or if I'm doing some sort of drawings. It's gonna really help in that regard because it's a much more fluid motion. On this, it's still plenty fluid, and the majority of you out there, if you don't have them side by side, you're not going to notice the difference. But for me, I do notice it sometimes. So the best way to compare these two is like the MacBook Air versus the MacBook Pro. M1 edition, of course. We're gonna leave out the Intels. Intels are passé. It's all about the M1 chip, which are phenomenal laptops, by the way. That review will be coming out very soon. And that's why I'll say the MacBook Air will do the job for a majority of you out there and do it well. And the same with the iPad Air. But if you need that extra bump, you need that extra processing power for multi-core, you need that LiDAR sensor because you're developing augmented reality apps or you are into augmented reality, or if you just want a larger display, the iPad Pro is going to be the one for you. Now, but if you already have a laptop or you have a desktop and you just want a media consumption device, but you want something thin and light, you like the colors that Apple's put into the iPad Airs, go with this, save some money. Now, of course, there are going to be some caveats here. You're going to get less storage on the iPad Air than you're going to get onto the iPad Pro in terms of your configuration. So keep that in mind. But if you have iCloud service, no issue. Or if you have an external drive, no issue at all. But there are some of those things that you will have to take in consideration. So which iPad is right for you? Well, logically, I would say the Air is for probably 80 to 90% of you out there. The iPad Air will be the iPad that will complement your laptop or your desktop, no issues at all. However, if you're someone like me who really wants to push their iPad to the limit, that wants to make it sort of that laptop to take with them on a trip when we can travel again, or onto location, and you're gonna use it for creative content, photo and video editing, and you need that multi-core performance, that 120 hertz refresh rate, that ProMotion display, the iPad Pro is still the one to get. I know it's not a yes or no answer, but it's still a very difficult one because both of these are really good products. It just depends on what is right for you. But I will say, yeah, it's logically this, but I still love the iPad Pro. This is my baby for the last year, and I'll tell you what, it has been, it's been one of the most enjoyable experiences I've had with an iPad ever since they came out. This has really changed the game for me in a lot of ways. And so I have an attachment to this emotionally, which is a little bit odd with tech, but logically, get the Air. But if you gotta get the Pro, get the Pro. I don't know. Anyway, those are my thoughts on these two iPads. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like always, follow us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube. Have a great 2021. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.